Testing.
Today is Wednesday, March 6th at 5:30 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. This is so weird. We will do school committee member introductions and we'll start with Councilor Harriman.
Scott Harriman, City Council Representative to the School Committee.
Donna Gallant, Ward 7.
Megan Hurd, Ward 6.
Ashley Medina, Ward 5.
Craig Charpentier, Ward 4.
Elizabeth Eames, Ward 3.
Janet Bowden, Ward 2.
Phoenix McLaughlin, Ward 1.
Megan Parks at large.
Jake Langlois, Superintendent.
Karen Paquette, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you. And now we will proceed with the budget leadership slides.
So we have several articles to review tonight. Just as a quick update, we continue to work on what are some potential reductions, and that work will continue to happen. It's my hope that I have a chance to review some potential items with our management team, which you see some of behind me, before we bring them forward to you. I like to include them in that process. So you'll see some things next week that will start to flood your mind with the reduction factors that we're going to start to see. Tonight we have leadership slides, but we also want to introduce some folks to you before we do that and then dive into articles. So I don't know a great way to do this, but because it's televised, I think what I'd like to do is have the entire team of administrators come make a line at the podium and introduce themselves and maybe the folks that work directly with them. So just come on up, everybody to the podium. There's no quiz at the end. I don't know if you'll remember all the names, but just a quick introduction, your name, where you are a leader of, and maybe members of your team if they're here. I do want to note, not everyone is here tonight because we have other articles like CTE that will be next week. And we may have some other folks here tonight who might share just a little bit, but we're going to do a deep dive in places like special education next week where we'll spend more time. And I did see that Kirsten and Michelle were here tonight. So I'll let them just do a quick intro and maybe go back to their seats. And when we go through the slides, they'll come up for their respective area when they come up. Thank you all.
I'm Philip Johnston. I'm the Longley School Director with the Next Step and Rooted programs.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Rock, Director of Information Technology.
Cindy Gish, Principal at Geiger.
Michelle Dunham, Assistant Principal at Geiger.
Christiana Ellis, Special Ed Assistant Principal at Geiger.
Hi, Whitney Rolfe, Assistant Principal at Connors.
Just to jump in, Travis is away today. Travis Chalba is another assistant principal, and it's Whitney and Travis really running the show here. So kudos to them.
Charlotte Johnson, Principal at McMahon.
Tiffany Sachs, Principal at Montello.
Andrew Bard, principal at Farwell.
April Karen, assistant principal at Farwell.
Jim Cliff, assistant principal for special education at Farwell.
Hi, Amanda Bryant, principal at the middle school. Hi, I'm Liza McLemore. I'm the director of the Multilingual Learner Program for the district.
Good evening. I'm John Radke. I'm the principal at the high school.
Good evening, Kirsten Crafts, director of special ed for the district. Michelle Winslow, assistant director for special education.
Hello, I'm Jen Tyner. I'm the director of adult education.
So some other folks that we have here that didn't come to the podium, we have Adam, who is our controller. He's one of my fact checkers and our finance guy. Bill Grant and Sue Williams, who I believe you're familiar with, our executive director folks. Oh, back corner is Austin, but we all know Austin because he makes it all happen. So there's a few slides I'm going to share tonight. Oh, it does these. Did my echo stop? There we go. This is one of the slides I want to share tonight. As I've said to you in the past, and not everybody's a sports fan, but I am a Chiefs fan. So we had several members of our leadership team and some teachers and coaches go down to Yale to do more training around the ruler model and the mood meter. And we talk about how to help students grow their skill sets to be their best selves, especially in those very challenging moments. And so this particular mood meter struck home for me as a fan because it somewhat represents and tries to help kids engage with defining and growing the vocabulary and how they feel at various moments in time. And what do you need to do in that moment when you feel that way to be your best self? And so I looked at this, and today I was in all 4 of these quadrants on 3 separate occasions, all at the same time. But overall, I think I land mostly in the green area. So if you see me chewing on my mouthpiece, it's just me thinking. So last year we did a schools overview and shared some bright spots, and just to continue to build context about just a touch of the piece of the work that we do, we want to provide an opportunity for principals and some of their other leadership members to talk about some things going on in their schools, but it's also a good opportunity for you to ask some of those questions that came up in prior meetings about what might not be working, what are some things that you feel like you really need that you don't have. So that's all kind of fair game at this point. They will stick around today, but I know how hard they work and how many hours they already put in. So they won't be at every meeting, but if we do need someone to come back, they're all more than willing to do so. So this is not total random order, but there'll be some slides we skip because those folks are coming next week, and we'll go through it. Folks behind me, if it's your school or your area that comes up, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium and sharing your thoughts. Looks like we're starting with Dr. Bard and Farwell.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to talk with you about all things at Farwell. So again, my name is Andrew Bard. I'm the principal. April is our assistant, and Jim is assistant special ed assistant principal. When we did the slideshow, my enrollment was 405, but when I checked today, we're at 408. We have 93 multilingual students, 89 special ed students, and I have 105 staff that work at Farwell. That includes our counselors, our nutrition staff, custodial, etc. We do have our district and RISE and functional life skills classroom. So some of our bright spots that we have at Farwell, I have 2 slides of things that are going on at our school. Our 6th graders took the initiative to do a food drive. So it was a whole school contest based off grade level. They were weighing the boxes, and whatever grade had the most food got a prize. We've invited several authors to come to our school. Bella Swan was during Black History Month. She worked with our students about how we're all different, and that's great, and to embrace those changes. We celebrate all our students. My top left is our multilingual team working with our students, getting ready for the access test. Excuse me. So one thing that we're really proud of this year is we looked at one of our survey results as a staff, and we looked at what does it mean to have a sense of belonging. So we decided to have one school, 8 houses. So our whole school is divided into 8 different houses based off colors and words off the mood meter, or essence of some of those topics. So every month we get in our house and we have house meetings. We do crafts and they're displayed around the school, such as the heart and those snow globes. The kids really love it. They're pretty excited every day. They ask, are we having a house meeting? So it is something that the students have kind of taken ownership of in some of the houses. It has been a little competitive with staff on some of the houses. I got a t-shirt, you didn't. And so we're slowly gathering how to make it a little bit more equitable for everyone. So it's been a great start of the year. Last year we did The Lion King. Our play this year is Beauty and the Beast. So if you do have time, it is May 2nd and 3rd is that Thursday and Friday night. So you are all cordially invited to attend that.
Just a little plug. We've talked a lot about mentoring and mentoring within things like that nature. Part of the experiment or pilot of this houses project, they're multi-year houses, not just based on grade level, which is something that we've done in the past. So seeing some good results from that, but want to continue to be reflective of trying a different model to see how it plays out when younger kids can look up to older kids in the same spaces. Anyone wants to ask Dr. Bard about Farwell?
Thank you. So if you've been through a few budget cycles, I always ask my question, so I'm hoping you're prepared. So I always love the bright spots, but I also want to know, like, what are some things that you need or you want, or things that you could come to us and say, like, I really need this because it's doing this in our school and it's doing this for our students, or it's doing this for our staff.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, I think at this point we're in pretty good shape at Farwell. The one thing that I do want to call attention to is just to we do have a couple positions that were ESSER positions that were moved into the budget request. So I would hope that, as we look at that is something that you continue to value. We don't have as many interventionists as other schools, so that's kind of where we're coming from in that lens, is that's a resource that we do need and continue to need as our kids are going through the process.
Any others? Seeing none, you're off the hook. Next up, we have Geiger. That's Cindy Gish.
I made my team come with me. I don't like to be by myself. So we've introduced ourselves, but just a little bit about Geiger. Our overall enrollment went down a little bit this year. But looking at numbers from last year, our ML population did increase by quite a bit, from about 94 students to 157. So when the multilingual department does do their budget night, there is another ML teacher in the budget for Geiger for that. And then we also, this year, we added a couple of special education programs. So last year we just had the 2 RISE programs. This year we have a group learner ABA program, as well as a K-2 self-contained program. And those we've had our bumps in the road, but we're on a really good track right now. So they're in a good place. And then just some pictures. Am I in charge of this? There we go. So there's just some pictures of some of our staff, like our group staff pictures, and some events that we've had at the school, some staff working on different projects that we had going on this year. And then on the next slide, it just has some phrases there, and those are really just kind of capture some of our school goals that we're working on this year. And like Dr. Bard, one of the ones I wanted to highlight this year as well was the sense of belonging. We've been able to add a lot of different things happening in our school this year to really get students to kind of feel that sense of belonging. So just a couple of the things that we've added we have a student leadership team, civil rights team. We did the spelling bee like we talked about the other night. We have we started intramural basketball, girls on the run. Chorus started up again this year, which we haven't had for a while. We also have Drama Gators, which this year we're doing Willy Wonka, and I had to quickly look up the dates since he announced his. And that is April 5th and 6th. We also have 6th grade students that are acting as mentors that go down to some of our younger classrooms during their WIN block to support some students in the younger classrooms, and that's been working out awesome. And then just other things we do as a whole school. We have monthly student recognition assemblies where families are invited. We also recognize staff at those that are recognized by their colleagues. Family events that are put on, school-wide morning meetings. We do class superlatives as well, where they're kind of nominated by different people in the building. So that's been fun. So those are the things that have been happening at Geiger.
Just a little note, I think this is the right picture, but the bottom right picture.
Oh, yes, I
They
did want
went
to
out,
talk about that.
they did a drone. Go ahead.
So the heart picture there, and then the picture down in the corner, we did a school-wide walk for the National Ruby Bridges Day, and we ended in a heart on the playground. And we did have a drone there too, but the picture in the corner there was actually taken by a life flight pilot who happened to be flying by at that time. Took a picture, and we got the email that night, and I was like so excited. But he just said in the email something to the effect of, it's a high stress when you're getting a call to go somewhere like that and to look down and see something like that, to see the students in a heart. He's like, you just really made my day. So it was nice to share with the students that they can spread that kind of happiness and kindness when they don't even realize that they're doing it. It was a pretty cool email to get with that picture in there. I don't have any spelling bee pictures.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, just because I'm not familiar with it, what is Group ABA?
So it's kind of, and maybe Michelle or Kirsten can help, but I'm going to try to explain it and then you can jump in if I'm not correct. So it's kind of a step in between RISE and FLS. So students that, we have a couple of students in that program that were in the RISE program, but didn't really fit with that group of students and need more like life skill programs, but they are able to be mainstreamed into the classroom more so. And it's been working out really good, well, because they have kind of that balance of some time in the gen ed classroom and then also some time really working on like some life skills in their self-contained classroom. Did I do okay?
Hello. So I do have the same question for you. Like, what are some things that you need or you want or that you hope can stay that maybe isn't staying?
Mm-hmm. So like I said, one of the positions that the multilingual office will be asking for is that additional ML teacher. The other thing and I think some of you that were here when Christy was nominated as our special ed AP, she came out of an interventionist position that was through ESER. So that took away one interventionist. We still have 2 that are in ESER. We are requesting one in the city budget, and then we're hoping that we can fit one into our Title I budget. So there is one in the city budget that we would love to stay if it can. But other than that, I feel like we're in a pretty good place staff-wise and what we have for supports.
I also wanted to say I really like the idea of your mentoring program. I have emailed Jake quite a few times. I have a nephew who goes to school in New Jersey and they have kind of the same thing. It's called like a safety officer. And in 6th grade, you have to apply. So you have to write an essay and you have to earn it, I guess, earn that type of position. And then you help the littles on the bus or walk them to their class or come in. And so I was like, I I would love to see more of this in LPS because I think it's really good. I know at McMahon where my kiddos go, they do share lunch period. So they do kind of get a little mix there, but not enough. And I think that is really important for them to feel like they know someone in the building if they see them in the hallway or passing or on the playground or,
Mhm.
you know, whatnot. So I really do like that.
And the littles really look forward to it. I was in a kindergarten class the other day and they were all asking where their sixth grade student was because the student was absent that day. But they look forward to the students coming down to help, and the sixth graders also look forward to it.
Any other? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Connors. They know the order. They all have the slideshow, so they know what's next.
Hi. So like I said earlier, I'm Whitney Rolfe and I'm one of the assistant principals here at Connors. And like Jake mentioned, it's myself and another assistant principal, Travis Jalbert, who have kind of been heading the ad team here at Connors. Our special ed assistant principal is currently vacant position. We have right around 720 students. That enrollment number fluctuates pretty often. 313 of our students are multilingual and 157 are special education. We do have 150 staff here. That includes all of our teachers, ed techs, counselors, nutrition, and custodial staff. For special education programs, we have 4 resource room classrooms, 2 functional life skills, 1 RISE, and then we do have the additional space for some self-contained programming, but we don't yet have the staff or the teachers for those programs. Our bright spots, I would have to very much highlight our staff. They are extremely dedicated and through all of this adversity that we've been going through as a Connors team, they show up every day for our students and they bring their best every day, and it really shows. The other pictures that are up here, you can see there's a mural that's still in the works. It's in one of our main hallways. That is the works of 2 of our 5th grade classrooms in collaboration with Side by Side. And each of the students are having the opportunity to design what is going in each of the letters of the word Lewiston. So that's still in the works. We also had the opportunity for WGME Weather to come and broadcast here. We've started up a relationship with the Nordiques team, and they come almost monthly. They come and they support in classrooms. They are outside on the playground with our students. They're in the cafeteria during lunch. And I wanted to highlight, we had our first ever winter carnival this past weekend. We had over 200 students come with their families, so it was extremely successful, even though we were not able to hold it outside and with the lack of snow this year. So the hopes for planning next year is to get it earlier in the school year and be outside and having it be more of a true fashion winter carnival.
Could you share a little bit of what happened at the Winter Carnival?
Yeah,
Was it
sure.
a dance? Was it games? Just curious.
Yeah. So there was multiple activities. There was yoga and some mindfulness activities. It was like an I Spy bag and then some resources for parents to take home along with the mood meter and ruler items for them to work on with their students or children at home. There was an obstacle course. There was some cookie decorating. The picture in the middle with the art teacher, that was the coffee filter snowflake making. We also had, we called it sled scooters. So it was the scooter boards in the gym and some floor hockey. And we also had a storybook walk with the story Snowy Day. So that was the one event that we were able to do outside. So students walked around the outside of the building with their parents reading each part of the story. They got to all take a copy of that book home. And that also came with a couple of activities for parents to do with their children at home. And if students went around and got a stamp for each activity, they were entered into some prize drawings, which one of our parents highlighted they really enjoyed that. And it was motivating for the students to go and see each different activity that was happening.
So I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yes. To echo a little bit of what Dr. Bard and Cindy Gish have already mentioned, there is one position that for Connors we have requested to be added to the local budget. That is actually a classroom teaching position. We have one large bubble group of students. They happen to be in 3rd grade this year, but that position would move to 4th grade next year. It's over 100 students, so without having the 6 teachers, that really just kind of puts a strain, and class sizes would be starting at over 23. So that's a position that I would say we very much are advocating for. We are losing some academic interventionists who were in the ESSER funds as well. So we'll feel a strain. We will be creative in trying to provide as many of those academic interventions that we can with the positions we have left. But this year so far, they've serviced about 110 students doing tier 2 and 3 academic interventions. So it will feel a little bit of a strain from that.
Member Glant?
I did want to let you know that I did see the WGME, or excuse me, the Channel 8 crew at Connors, and it was wonderful to see that. I think actually it took place in this room. And just seeing all those faces, it was really good.
Yeah, we're going to aim for a little bit later in the year, so it's a little warmer and hopefully get more of a turnout from students and teachers. It was very early. We started here at about 5 a.m. and it was pretty chilly, but that's something that we've done 2 years in a row and plan on continuing.
Okay, thank you very much, Whitney.
Thank you.
Next up, Charlotte with highlights from McMahon.
Hello, so I'm Charlotte Johnson and I am the principal at McMahon. I have an assistant principal, Jeff Ramich, and a special ed assistant principal, Michelle Russell. Our student enrollment is at 459, which is pretty down from where we've been in the past. With that, we have 93 ML students and 140 special ed students. Included in the 140 special ed students, we do have a day treatment program, and I do have a self-contained program that is new this year that services students in grades 2nd through 4th. And for staffing, I have 121 teachers, ed techs, counselors, nutrition, custodian, etc. With the day treatment program, there are many BHPs. That's why my staff numbers look a little high, and my enrollment, it might not match up if you're looking at the slides, but we do have BHPs and clinicians to support the day treatment program. And so a lot of my bright spots focus on community. So this year we really focused on building community for our staff, our students, and our families. This first picture with students with bags over their shoulder. We have a student council this year for the first time. So that has 5th and 6th graders. And they have been partnering with the store next door to help do winter clothing drives. Right now they're collecting supplies for like basic needs supplies. And that drive is running until March 22nd. So if you want to spread the word and help support us with the store next door. Students decided to do that on their own. They met with the store next door and are very passionate about continuing that support. So that's been really cool to see students motivated to do something to help our community. In the middle there, I have started breakfast with the principals monthly. And so parents come and we explore different topics like grading or what social emotional learning looks like, or behavior and consequences. And so parents have really enjoyed coming and learning about what happens in school. And then they're also able to give me topics that they want to learn more about. So that's been really successful. Over on the side, we have clubs. So that's a new activity that we started on early release Wednesdays. And just like the houses, we mix up our student population. So younger kids get to be with older kids and they get to sign up for the club that they would like to do. And so we have things like bracelet making, floor hockey. Megan has been doing some yoga with some kiddos. We have an outdoor club and the list goes on, but students are able to choose which club they want to participate in. And our whole staff and students are all involved with that on Wednesdays of early release days. We've had a lot of whole school assemblies this year to celebrate many different things. Every students earn Tiger Paws for being safe, respectful, and responsible. And so we've been able to really celebrate, bring them together and celebrate their success. We had a guest speaker up here, Edward DeShazer, that we met at the Innovative Summit Conference, and he came to talk to our staff and students about just building strong, positive relationships with each other to make your community stronger. In the middle, we have up top, we have a 5th grade writing celebration. And so teachers have really been inviting families in to celebrate the work that the students have done. So students finished their informational writing unit and their parents came in to kind of look at their work and celebrate their accomplishments. Down bottom, for Read Across America Week, we did a whole school hallway read for 30 minutes. So usually the younger grades have always participated in that, but with building that sense of community, I wanted the whole school to participate. And so you could have heard a pin drop for that half an hour for the whole school. And it was really cool to see everybody engaged in that reading. Up top, we have, we've partnered with Horace Mann, and so they give us these little owls called the Hootie and a Dunkin' Donuts card. So every month we celebrate our staff. Other teachers are able to nominate each other for the great work that they have done. So that has really helped build a positive culture when celebrating each other. This year, we're bringing back our McMahon Tiger Run, and so that is on April 27th, and we've started a lot of work on that. So if you would like to run a 5K, that's going to be on April 27th, and signups are out there. But we're really excited. This is something that we've been wanting to bring back. I think the last time we had it was 5 years ago, so we are feeling in a good place with our PTO and our staff to start it up again.
Just as a quick note, Karen reminded me a slide or two ago about in tab 11, you have those informational sheets from each school that has enrollments and some staffing numbers, things like that. So just if you would like to reference that, it's in tab 11 as folks go up.
Member Eames? I just was curious about the clubs. Is it every student stays on Wednesdays to do the clubs or some do?
So we do it the first hour of every early release Wednesday. And so it's right during the school day, but our schedule is a little bit different that day because of its early release. So, yeah.
Member Hurd.
Thank you. So you already know the question I'm going to ask, but I also wanted to mention too, where everybody is here for our Tiger Run, we're also doing a kids fun run. So those registration forms should have gone to all of our schools and they should have gone out to all of the kiddos. So we are getting a lot of them back, like a lot of stacks at a time that I'm having to process, but it's great. We're really excited. So yeah, so I feel like maybe I know some things that you need there just because we talk a lot, but I don't think maybe the rest of the committee.
So I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot right now. My ESER position, I only had one, and I found a way to move it into the Title I budget. So I'm able to keep my interventionist that I had in that position. With my high special ed numbers, and we're always trying to strengthen our day treatment program, I've been in close communication with Kirsten and the special ed department. So I am comfortable with what they have to offer to help support what I need in my special ed programming.
Any other thoughts or questions?
So Jake has kind of shared with us a little bit too, that you could potentially, if you had staff and people, you could potentially fill some more space in your day treatment program. So
day treatment, and I mean, you see my numbers. I am willing to take all the students. Like I will, if I can support them with what I have for staff, then I am willing to help out the community and bring me the kids.
Okay, next up, we have Montello, Principal Sachs.
I would just like to say Charlotte is serious when she says that. She's been really collaborative when we've had space issues at Montello. So thank you for Charlotte for doing that. She does mean every word of that, of what she says. So I'm Tiffany Sachs, principal at Montello. My team couldn't join me today, but I have 3 assistant principals, one of special education. So Allison Hopkins and Chris Levine are our assistant principals, and then Erica Goslin oversees special education. And then we do have a member of our team who does our special programs and MTSS work. He's on a different contract, but his name is Chris Hoskins, and he does a lot of orchestrating of our systems of supports for kids. And I think it's really important to mention him here as well. So our enrollment is at 651. It's actually 654 today. I checked after Andrew mentioned that. We have gotten a few more new enrollments, and that is very typical at Montello. So we've had a lot of withdrawals and a lot of new admissions this year. Actually, it's in the hundreds at this point. So we have a lot of students that are moving between schools or often come into our school mid-year. So that the same group of kids you have at the beginning of the year isn't necessarily the same group you have at the end of the year. So with that, we have 304 ML students and then 90 special education students. With that number increasing, our ML population, I know ML is looking to have another multilingual teacher at our school, so that would make for a total of 11. And then we have a staff of about 120, so that includes teachers, ed techs, counselors, nutrition, custodial, etc. We do not have any special programs for special education. We just are resource room only, although we are looking to see if we could have a self-contained or another type of program at Montello. Right now, we're just sort of working through the space challenges that we have with an increasing enrollment. So, but we're willing to get creative, and I know special education has been really thoughtful in meeting with us and trying to find a way to make that work, and could talk more about that too, and I believe budget requests. So with that said, the couple things I want to highlight briefly for you is some of you who were here last year know we were starting a vision process. We were meeting with parents, students, staff members to really develop a vision for where we want to be as a school community and something that aligns with our district vision as well. So our vision statement is alive now and it posted in every classroom. We want to be a thriving community where we encourage and inspire each other to learn the skills we need to grow and reach our dreams in a safe and supportive environment. So with that said, we've really worked to align our school goals to this vision statement and make sure all of the work we're doing is in alignment with where we want to be as a school community. So we do talk to students about this vision statement when we're talking about behavior. When we're building systems of support for kids, we are thinking about this in mind and really thinking about not just the bare minimum of what kids need, but how do we also encourage and inspire them at school. So there are some pictures around of how we do that. We've had a field trip. I know all of the 6th graders went to the GRMI field trip. We made it on the news, so I had a little picture there. If you happen to see that news clip, that was exciting. But we're also trying to think about ways we can increase access to our band and strings programs, how we can transport kids if they can't make it after school. Our kids are really excited about earning books when they are safe, respectful, and responsible in common areas. We're working to build in some more bilingual texts in our book vending machine so that that's more accessible to all of our students as well. And there are just pictures of kids doing what they do best, which is learning in class and being really excited about it. So the picture on the top left is a classroom that actually the teacher developed a classroom rap with the kids and they practiced and rehearsed it. It's all about rules, the rules of the classroom, rules of school, and they performed it for me and it was a lot of fun. So I do have that video if anybody's interested. And then the next slide is really just about all the ways we try to get creative with funding. We know money is tight, and we really lean heavily on a lot of amazing community partners. So you can see a lot of the logos. You might recognize quite a few of them as they're local, but we really try to think about ways we can support kids beyond what we lean on for local budget. So we've had a wonderful partnership with Food Corps to really inspire kids toward healthy eating habits, outdoor learning, and they've been amazing at engaging parents as well and community members in those efforts. We also have an attendance and family engagement coordinator, and she works with a lot of these community partners to just find creative funding for getting clothes for kids, for getting our food pantry up and running, and supporting as many families as we have the capacity to support. So without all of these community partners, we really couldn't do the work we're doing. And so I just wanted to make sure I took a moment to mention them. Okay.
Member Bowden?
Thank you. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you just seem like you fell into this role so naturally. And I just wanted to ask, like for you personally, how's it going as the principal this year?
I am finding my footing. Last year was a lot to learn and learn really quickly. So it's been exciting to have a vision that we're all working toward together, and that inspires me. And seeing people work toward that it feels like we're really making some movement toward community in a way that feels different than last year. And part of that is because we've experienced so much this year that's been really challenging, but it's exciting work, sometimes tiring work, but also exciting to be a part of.
Member Eames?
Just some clarification. I don't know what GRMI field trip means.
Oh, the Gulf of Maine Research Institute.
Gulf of
in
Maine
Portland.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Thank you. That's a fisheries thing, right?
Yes.
Developing. Okay, thanks. And the other thing, just whoever put this together, I don't think we have Montello in tab 11. All the others seem to be there, but not Montello.
I'll check on that.
Member Medina?
So I had the opportunity to volunteer at the food pantry with one of my coworkers, and it was just really exciting to be there and to see like everything that's going on. And a variety of food is amazing as well. But what really made my heart happy was seeing the kids being involved in distributing the food, breaking down the boxes, and you could tell they were really excited to do it. And I just love that. So I'm gonna be going back next Thursday, and I'm excited.
Member Hurd?
Thank you. So I have the same question, just like needs or things that you feel like that are really important to your programming. I know you do a lot over there. I have one of my kiddos' friends' parents is over there. And so I hear a lot of the things, and just the stuff you guys are doing over there is so great, and what you're offering your students and how you guys are just, not that you're managing, but how you just get it all done. It's just great to see that no matter what is thrown at you guys, you just kind of figure it out over there. So
Sure do. Yeah, I would just say the things that we've asked for, from ESSER are just continuing to be something that we feel like we need. And, if we need to find a unique way of funding those things, I think we'll do our best to do that as well. But we tried to be really reasonable. I think the request that we have is just the 2 ESSER positions we had left to go into local. And we believe we need them. We're not going to ask for any gift items right now because we're all being mindful of what we're spending. But we're also thinking about ways we can get creative if we need to make some cuts.
Montello was the playground situation. Yes. Where are we? Do you have an update on that?
An update. Yeah, we actually have the playground updates that have been delivered. The ground's just a little cold and the playground items have been covered in snow. So they did try to come on a holiday over February break to start installing equipment. It just didn't line up because no one was working and the equipment was covered in snow. So the next available opportunity for them to install, they're willing to do that. I know facilities is working to orchestrate that, but the items that we had funding for that we ordered is basically ready to go as soon as the ground's ready.
As a side, I do have that form from Tiffany, and it not being in your binder, I'll get it for you. I apologize for that. She did get it in. Yeah. I just didn't know if it was
wasn't
missing
meant
in one.
as a cut on anything. I just wanted you to know informationally that we didn't have it. That's all.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Tiffany. Next up, we have Lewiston Middle School. Principal Bryant is here.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda, principal at the middle school, and I am very lucky to have 3 assistant principals. Pam Butler is our 7th grade assistant principal. Elunga Matumbo is our 8th grade assistant principal. And Carrie Jackson is our assistant principal of special education. I wanted to just like the other principals, our enrollment has gone up. We're at 677 today, but we're pretty consistent, right around 670-ish. We have 114 staff members that include our teachers, our ed techs, counselors, everybody in the building. And we also, we have, because the special purpose programs from the elementary schools, those kids come to the middle school. So we do have a functional life skills classroom, a day treatment classroom, and a RISE classroom. So I just wanted to call your attention to the middle block. Teaching middle school is an adventure, not a job. Many of you remember your middle school years. Some people say they were either the best times of their life, but most people say the worst. It's hard. Being a middle school kid is hard. There's a lot to learn. It's a huge transition. It's that middle ground between our elementary and the high school. I'm very, very blessed to have amazing teachers who truly love middle school kids. You either love them or you don't. And we're very lucky to have people who do. So I appreciate them. I want to tell you a little bit about our structure because I do think it's important in how we treat students and how students are welcomed and have a sense of belonging and community at the middle school. We have 3 teams of each grade level. So students are grouped on a team that are all named after national parks. And each team consists of 2 math teachers, literacy, science, social studies, a multilingual teacher, and a special education teacher. Did I forget one? I don't think I did. I think that's everyone. Students stay with their team pretty much all day. They go off team when they have their unified arts block for the day. And then our teams loop. So all of my current 7th grade teachers will be 8th grade teachers next year, and our current 8th grade teachers will come back to be 7th grade teachers and pick up our incoming 6th graders as 7th grade students. So because we have that 2-year looping process, it really gives our students and staff a great sense of community, and they really get to know each other. They become like little families. There's about 100+ students on each team, and it just works really well. To go along with that team, those teams, I have my 7th grade student support team and my 8th grade student support team. Each of those teams includes an assistant principal, clinician, a counselor, and the dean of students. They work tirelessly day in, every day to be everything that our students need. When they talk about students, they talk about them from a clinical aspect, from a behavioral aspect, an academic aspect. So the team of them is really able to put their heads together and just, do what's best for students coming at all angles. So that's something that's changed over the past couple of years. I want to let you know a little bit about this staff PD that you see up there in the upper right-hand corner. We had an opportunity this past summer to work with a man named Calvin Oliver. And he helped us find the balance between restorative conversations with students, which we think is very important, but we also think we needed that second step in having students be accountable for their actions. And so when students have incidences, behavior incidences, they have to do accountability projects. So they're not just going home or they're not just sitting in school suspension and doing work or doing nothing. They're actually spending quite a bit of time talking about what the behavior was, what they learned from it, who was impacted, what's the real life connection to this. For example, if I stole a friend's AirPods, what's that going to be when I'm 25 years old? So we try to get kids to really think about their impact to themselves and their impact on other people. They then present their accountability projects to the people that were impacted by their behavior. If other students are comfortable attending those, if they're comfortable having other students attend, we do that, but it's usually staff and family who attend the project presentations. Students don't love them, which is what we want. We don't want them to, have a behavior and then just go home and everything, is forgotten. It's really about going a little bit deeper and processing that behavior so that they can make a better decision next time. We've worked really hard on that, and that's been very helpful. There's lots of things here. One of the things we focused a lot on this year were our student leaders. We now have a student senate for each grade level. And they meet weekly. Assistant Principal, Mr. Matumbo works with them on a regular basis. They plan our March Madness, our dances. They tell us, what the vibe is going out in the building and what we can do to help support all students. I can tell you what it is that we need because it's very, very much connected to the work that we do. Currently, one of our dean positions is in ESER and it's sunsetting, as you know. So we really need that position so that we can continue our 2 groups of 4. And our deans deal with the behavior and the discipline that happens like in the moment, So we would feel a huge shift in our ability to approach behavior on a regular basis without them. We also, last year, we cut the strings position, and I would like that to be added back into our budgeting for this year. It's a challenging position to fill. It takes a very special skill set. We're lucky to have a very kind lady, Mrs. Mary Hunter. She comes in just for a couple hours in the morning and keeps our strings program going. But Mary won't do this forever. And she has communicated that to me. She's phenomenal, but I really need that to be a full-time position so that our program can continue.
Member McLaughlin.
Sorry, just to clarify, you mean strings like orchestra or, okay, yes, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a little historical context, because not everyone in the room knows the story behind Mary Hunter helping us out, but Mary comes in and she charges minimally. There's a grant that helps compensate her. She's not a full-time employee, but she does what a full-time employee might otherwise do. So this was discovered last year. Amanda was doing some creative problem solving because we couldn't find anyone to take the job. And she made this connection with Mary. And so we got into this agreement to have Mary do this. We knew she would come back this year. So last year in the budget crunch, we actually reduced that position, but maintained the contract to have Mary come back. But we all knew at the time that that was a risky thing if Mary wasn't available for whatever reason. And so I don't want to push that too far down the road. We don't know how long Mary will be able to help with that at the cost at which she's helping. So it is included in your budget proposals, just so you know.
Member Bowden.
Thank you. So a couple things. First, I want to say that, the program that you have going on for behaviors, kudos to you for putting that in there. I know I can speak for most of us when I say it felt like we saw you on a weekly basis last year. And so it's been really great this year to not have a disciplinary hearing every single week.
Middle school students.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know that we've seen a middle school student. So it's, I'm impressed. I'm really happy to hear that you have something in place that seems to be working. And I also just wanted to ask, since I have you here, about the bathrooms and how they're doing at the middle school.
The bathrooms.
I have to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have one bathroom on each team, on each floor. So we have 6 primary 6 student bathrooms. The bathrooms are used by all the students on that team, regardless of gender, but each team has a system to make sure that it's only one student in there at a time. And honestly, the kids are so well trained, and this is really, really enforced and ingrained in them, that they don't go into the bathroom if somebody else is in there. So one team, for example, has a string, like a magnetic string it has a magnet here with a string and a magnet here, and it goes from one side of the doorway to the other. So if that string is up, you know that somebody's in the bathroom, you don't go in. When that person comes out, they move the string and now it's available. We have another team that uses a bucket. So when you go to the bathroom, you take a bucket, like a dollar store basket or something. You put it on the chair that's outside of the bathroom. So if there's a bucket there, you don't go in until the person comes out and takes that. We do have one stall in each bathroom that is labeled females only, and that came out of some cultural conversations that we had at the beginning of the year, where we had some parents of female students that they did not want their female student using a bathroom after a male had used it. So it wasn't even about being in the same room. It was just about using it after a male had used it. So we alleviated that by having a stall labeled females only. I know it may sound surprising, but our students really respect this ability or this process that we have, this situation we're in. We do have a couple bathrooms on the first floor that students can use if they are uncomfortable. There's one in the nurse's office, and then there's one right in the main hallway. If students would like to really only, be in the bathroom and make sure that nobody's going to see their feet per se, they can come and use one of those bathrooms. I have had several parents reach out and let me know that they love this situation because all the bathrooms are gender neutral. And that is really important. One mom said, my child has never had this. And now they have an opportunity to really be themselves and just go to the bathroom and not have to worry about gender specific. I honestly, this is my second year. We may have had 2 situations in 2 years where a male and a female have been in the bathroom at the same time, not in the same stall. I'm just in the bathroom area. One was a complete accident. The boy was horrified that, that he was in there and a girl came out and they were both like, oh my goodness, we're in so much trouble. The other one wasn't an accident, but that's to happen. Students make mistakes and we have to teach them to do better. So overall, I think it goes pretty well. I think it's a big shock to our incoming 7th grade families. So what we learned this year is we're getting ahead of it this year. We have a parent meeting for our incoming 7th grade scheduled for June 3rd so that we can let them know about this. They can have all summer to think about that and offer up any ideas they may have. And then we'll reconnect with them at the beginning of the year. You're welcome.
Member Eames?
First, great. Thank you. That's very good news about the bathrooms. But I wasn't planning on saying that. That just came up because of this conversation. What I did want to say is that having been trained in restorative justice, if anyone is doing restorative justice without accountability, then they're not doing it right. So thank you for doing it right. And hopefully everyone will start to do it right now because that is absolutely the essence of restorative practice. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for saying that. I think some people have this notion that restorative is just, we sit in a circle and talk about it and everybody goes their separate way after. It's not at all. And I really want to change that narrative. The kids have to take the ownership. They have to take that accountability. And we do have to teach some kids empathy. But that's the point. When you feel bad about what you've done, you might not do it again because you don't want to hurt somebody.
Member Hurd?
Thank you. So I think this is great. I want to echo what Member Bowden said, because as much as I do love to see you, I feel like we are seeing you a lot less. And I do think the middle school kind of has like this stigma around it a little bit. And I'm glad to see that this is changing. I think this is big for our district because I feel like, maybe some parents are hesitant about sending their students to the middle school. And I think this is going to be really great for our district. And I have to say, I think the bathroom situation is great. As a parent, initially, I would probably be one of those parents that's like, oh my gosh, you're going to have, both genders in the bathroom at the same time. And I think it's more of a little bit of a shock.
Yeah.
So it's good that you are getting ahead of it and you're giving parents time to prepare. I love that. You can ask Jake. I'm always saying more is more, not less is more. I like to know all of the things. And I agree. I don't personally like to use the bathroom after my husband or my son has used the bathroom. So I think this is great. And then I'm really glad that you guys accommodate that because I feel like sometimes things like that are kind of like, it doesn't make sense, but for some others, it does. So I'm really happy to hear that you guys are doing great over there because we really haven't seen you to check in. So this was good to hear all the things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teenage boys do not have great regard for who's coming after them. The other thing I want to add, because I know the bathrooms thing is a conversation and I'm not saying it's all perfect. And I know we're looking for funds to make some improvements, but I also want to add, there isn't 5 boys in the bathroom just killing time.
No.
there isn't 6 girls in the bathroom killing time. Knowing that there's a line outside the door it helps expedite students to get them out of that space and then back to hopefully learning and not just kind of roaming. But there's also no fights really reported. Have you had any fights in the bathroom this year at
No,
all?
none.
So there's a functional aspect to the logistics that also improves expectations. So again, I'm not saying the routine is perfect. I think if we could just go renovate, we might consider that, but those are very costly changes. But the routine seems to be working. And I don't know about you, but again, the teenage boys don't really think about who's coming after them, but nobody at the teenage level, when they're trying to figure out their identity and explore all these things that they are, especially in 7th and 8th grade, wants to be the one holding up the bathroom. Nobody. So I think it helps in ways that we might not be able to quantify.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. We have Lewiston High School and Principal Radke coming up.
Good evening. Again, I'm John Radke, and I'm the principal at Lewiston High School. Just wanted to do a quick, by the numbers like everybody else did. We've got a great administrative team with Becca Schuweiler, Todd Schiffelli, Doug Dumont as 3 assistant principals in regular education. We also have Rachel Moore, who's a director of student services, and we are finally almost complete now. Never mind. We're not completely staffed in school counselors. We're down 1, but we're close. Which has made a huge difference in terms of the service that we can offer students. We also have Michaela Stanley and Colby Gale, who are the special education assistant principals this year, doing an outstanding job with a challenging population. So current enrollment, 1,527. That's probably changed since I pulled these numbers last week a little bit, which is up 164 from last year, and which is interesting because when we were budgeted this time last year, we were thinking, well, plus or minus 50. Oops. But it's gone well. We're okay. The one area that has been really hit hard is the ELL, and new positions have been created. Thank you. That are helping to keep that under control, and there'll be lots more when we look at that in particular. Currently, we have 462 students in the ELL program. That number was good as of 5 o'clock this afternoon. And then also 201 on IEPs enrolled in special education. And that's also the most current number. Our staff, I always like to peg it at 200. When you add in the teachers, ed techs, counselors, nutrition, custodial, adults who work in the building, who are in there, is right around 200. And again, like other buildings, we have, FLS, functional life skills, the RISE program, and the day treatment program that is the transition on up to us. So a couple of highlights, bright spots, I'll keep talking about this all day long. Disciplinary incidents per month are down by 50%. We are running at half the number of disciplinary incidents. And I would say that is directly due to the restorative practices that we have in place. And that team just does an outstanding job. It's gotten to the point where students will seek them out if they have a conflict prior to throwing fists, screaming at each other, or whatever else they were going to do. So they've been very busy with great effect. Absences from first period classes are down by 62%. Part of that is, we used to have kids so we now start our day with all school flex. Kids would show up half an hour late to school and they'd miss half of their first period class. Now not that it's a great thing that they miss an opportunity for some additional support, but the numbers in those math science classes or whatever classes first period, much fewer students late. A couple other high points. We've got these were December numbers, 656 applications to 4-year colleges filed. That's a total of 717 total applications. So that's 55% of all seniors had already begun in December planning for the next step. Now that number is going to be much bigger right now because decisions got made. More students are realizing that, they're about to run out of high school and they got to come up with a plan. Additionally, it's a self-reported number, so it's a little soft. You could absolutely raise that. obviously, state champions in boys soccer, mock trial, cheerleading. Boys are playing hockey right now. They're winning. Nice. Okay. So against Saco High School, correct? Yeah. Also known as Thornton Academy. So we've had one young person already get a full scholarship to Wellesley. We had 2 students already committed and headed to Division I schools. So things are really going well. Some other things that didn't make the slide this time. We've had a revival of a longstanding tutoring program with students from Bates that we've reinstated and done it in a different way, specifically targeting students who are right on the edge of crossing over into meeting state standards. Place where 40 minutes a week or so with a college student who's got some direction can really make a big difference in terms of their growth. So that's another great thing that we've gotten started. So those are the some quick bright spots. The building seems to be a pretty happy place most of the time, which is nice, even in March, which is a tough pull. Maybe by April they'll be a little more on each other's nerves, but right now things are going smoothly. Quite happy with how that's happening. In terms of what do we need? To be realistic, the ESSER funded positions we had last year, a number of them had gone away and we reclassified. We have, I think, 2 positions now that are fully funded by ESSER. If I could figure out a way to get one of them onto the local side, they work in, it's a restorative practices position. I'd love to figure out a way to do that. But beyond that, we're doing okay. And I would say to you, every step back is a step back. So, but I also am fully aware that there are no easy decisions. But that's where we're at. Questions?
Member Bowden.
Not really a question, but I want to give you the same kudos that I gave to Amanda on the disciplinary end of it as a school committee member, because I'm just blown away at how little we've had to. And maybe I entered the school committee at the wrong time, but the behaviors were just out of control last year. So I'm just really, really, really proud of our school district for getting this under control. It's no secret, you've got my 2 kids right now, and they are thriving, and it's been a great environment for them and a really great experience. So thank you.
No, thank
That's all
you.
I want to say.
Member Eames. I wondered if there were, I was a college professor, so 4-year colleges are great, but there are many other ways to succeed. So I'm wondering what you could tell us about other future plans that aren't 4-year colleges.
So,
although that's
in
one
that
good
number,
measure.
there's tons of kids, Central Maine or the community college system. I would expect, that they generally take a big number of our students on board. As well as, some do go into the military and some do go into apprenticeship programs. It's tough to get those numbers right now. It's easy to get the ones who are in the aspirations lab going, I gotta get my application done. I gotta get my applications done. Not necessarily for the student, for whom, a selected 4-year college is their number 1 choice. But we have been sending huge numbers into the community college system. And that's been great. Just, the message we want to get to them is you're not done. There is more training to be done. And the beautiful part of it, you only have to do the stuff you like. Other questions?
Member Hurd.
Thank you. So again, kind of what Member Bowden had asked before, I don't want to put you on the spot per se, but you had come to us from a very different district. And so just how are you doing? How are you feeling everything's going? Clearly the team that you're working with over there, clearly, as Member Bowden said, you're doing something right, obviously. So I just kind of wanted to hear a little bit from you and your thoughts.
John, before you answer, he's going to say it's better here. Fully.
What I would say, and this is absolute honesty, there is no place on the planet I would rather be principal of a high school than Lewiston High School. It really is a remarkable place for many, many different reasons. And it's got plenty of, we all know about the challenges, but when you're there day to day, you see the strengths. And that's what people need to focus on, is how much good is happening in that building with, by, for students and teachers. And you know, begin to shift that narrative a little bit, because it's, you know, so I had some students from where I used to work come up for a visit. They wanted to do an article for their school newspaper on the lasting impacts of the events from October. So I said, sure, that's fine, you know, but I want to talk to you when you're done. So I said, what's the biggest thing that struck you about being at Lewiston High School? And they said, how friendly everybody was and how much the teachers seemed to care. I mean, like, really care. It wasn't just a passing, how are you? It was a stop, make eye contact, have a conversation with kids over and over again. And if she said, what are they going to say? That was not what I would have said. So, I mean, that's what I would say.
Member Medina?
So I just wanted to say that I agree. I'm really happy that we're seeing less disciplinary hearings, and I wanted to share a story. So I had a friend that I went to school with reach out to me. She didn't know I was on the school committee, and she's like, hey, my daughter's having some trouble at school. Do you know anything about the Next Step school? Like, she's scared to go to the high school because she's, you know, had some problems with some kids. And I was like, well, actually, have you, you know, taken these steps? And so anyways, I told her who she should reach out to. And so her daughter met with the restorative justice team and the other girls, and they were able to like completely squash the beef. And they actually realized like how silly it was, because they were having drama from like a couple years ago to the point where they're just like, we don't even know why we were fighting. So now she stayed in school, her grades are up, she's happy, she's not depressed anymore. So just a shout out to the restorative justice team and the team, the work that you guys are doing over there. So thank you.
They do unbelievable work. They really do.
Thank you, Principal Radke.
Speaking of Next Step.
Coming up, we have Philip Johnston, who's the Longley School Director.
Hi, everyone. Philip again. So 2 caveats about this slide. One is it lists my name, but it doesn't list the internal leadership team at Next Step. Starting in the program as a teacher, the teachers, the support staff, the folks who work for Tree Street are a part of all the decision-making process, and it's almost inaccurate to just have my name up there. Secondly, I want to apologize to the Rooted students because they desperately need a pretty logo like Next Step, so we'll work on that. But for me, I oversee Next Step and Rooted programs. Collectively, that's 148 students. Rooted is more of a transitional program, so that number fluctuates quite a bit. But as you see, Next Step has grown considerably. We've grown more than 4 times since our pilot year, when we were just called the Longley Pilot. And amidst all that change and all that new staff and new programming, we've maintained an average graduation rate for our senior classes at 85%. So that is a huge credit to the staff and the collaborative partnership we have with Tree Street for that work. If you work at Next Step or Rooted, you are in a constant state of iterative design because we're never settled that we're doing enough for students. One of the things I wanted to highlight to you all today is that we really focus on 6 core areas of impact. We want our students developing interpersonal skills that cultivate one's community, intrapersonal skills that cultivate the self, leadership skills, knowing when to raise their voice, but also let others raise theirs, academic and technical skills that they'll need for the jobs of the future, everything from obviously reading, writing, and math, but also coding and design, novel experiences, pushing their understanding of what's possible, and understanding how complex systems work so they can navigate those systems and work them to the best of their ability. So how we do that, next slide, is through a lot of project-based community instruction. Up here, you can see everything from a picnic table that students built, but that's not just that they built it, they also, with their teacher, sought out a grant to get the funds to buy ham and lumber and build a picnic table because kids need more places to sit and gather in the community. You see them making food and learning about food insecurity at the St. Mary's Nutrition Center. You see them going to local farms and the Common Ground Fair. You see them helping each other. And these are students that, there's no one type of next step or rooted student, but they're all sort of seeking meaning in one way or another. But they've often been underserved in other places, and to see them come together and help each other out is obviously one of the best parts of my day. And then one more slide shows the other pieces that we do. I wanted to highlight community. A lot of folks here tonight have emphasized it. Community is hard. I think the kids are dying for it, but it's also a skill they really need to practice. So when we talk about restorative practices, when we talk about circles and social emotional learning, it's trying to patch back the pieces that pull our community apart at times. And obviously we went through such a collective trauma this year, that work is more essential than ever. So we have daily circle every day where we bring our community together. Every Friday, every person in the program gives a shout out. So some gratitude to somebody else in the program. And then we also try to celebrate those successes. We have created these individual vision of a graduate boards, where students, as they achieve those things that don't necessarily show up on their transcript, we've developed sort of these stickers so that they put those on their boards and they'll take it away with them when they graduate, to show that there's so much more to a high school diploma than just your 24 credits. Yeah, so those are the things that I wanted to highlight today. And to the question about what's challenging, I think for us, the stuff in this budget, I think will really help us continue to do our work. We're constantly trying to be innovative with how we do programming for students who struggle to get to school, who, are finding it hard to find the motivation for that diploma. But I think the biggest thing I wanted to highlight is just continuing to support the partnership with Tree Street Youth. I can't emphasize enough the amazing staff there and the work that they do with our students. They know things in the community or ways to get in contact with kids that school personnel just don't know, frankly. So their partnership is essential, and continuing to support that is key. And then the Longley building is something that we're always trying to love on as much as we can. If you've been in there, you see lots of different student art projects and things like that. But I know we've put in the budget things about updates to our floors and just things that'll generally be a boost to the place, which if you vote in Lewiston, you go through and you see the wear and tear. So, but other than that, I think, again, I really appreciate the work that the administrative team and Jake and Karen have done to bring forward a budget that continues to support our work.
Member Roden?
Thank you. I have a couple questions. Your first slide didn't include how many staff you have at Next Step. Do you know that
that's right.
offhand?
It's 27 across both programs. 4 of that staff is rooted staff. So it's 23 Next Step staff, and counting myself, and then 4 rooted staff.
And then my other question was, how many seniors do you have this year?
This year, I believe our number is 24.
Yeah.
There's a wide range of sort of need. We're now really seeing that COVID pandemic impact. So the type of flexibility that the state gives us to try to address those disruption needs is really helpful. And it's been great working with John and his team to find creative ways, both in summer programming and the enrichment work that we do. So it's going to be hard to get quite as high a rate as we've gotten in the past, but I think the flexibility of the staff and the LHS team, I think we can still get it done. So
That was kind of my question. Like, are they on track this year?
yeah,
Are we going to see
I think
all
leveraging,
24?
I always want to highlight that August graduation. I think that's one of the best things our district does. I even had one student who's like, I kind of want to go to that. It's fewer people. I'm less anxious. So yeah, I think it just gives people a little bit more runway. And it's often, kids will create, I talk about it as like artificial cliffs, like to some degree. What is it, June 1st this year? It's an artificial cliff. Like we said, after 4 years of high school, you should be there, but that's not everyone's pathway. And so to get them to realize there are these other milestones that they can hit gives us the opportunity to keep them motivated through those challenges. So we're hoping to have a robust summer program collaborating closely with LHS so we can help students, whether they come to Longley or LHS on a daily basis. How do we get more kids across the finish line for August?
Member Hurd?
Thank you. So I have to say, I have been very impressed. I don't know a lot about your Next Step program over there because I don't tend to see a lot of those kiddos. But the Root Ed program has just mind like blew me out of the water. And I think the rest of the committee would probably agree. We have students that come for disciplinary hearings, and when they come back with Keenan for their reentry hearing, it's like night and day. Those kids are just, so I think collectively what LMS and LHS is doing with their restorative practice, there also needs to be some of that given to you guys as well over there, because I think collectively you guys working together, it's really helping our students to be able to like figure out their needs and their wants and express how they're feeling and figure out how to navigate this very funky part of their lives. Like it's just a lot of growth that needs to be done. So I'm really happy to see that you guys are working collectively and on the same page, because we are not seeing, again, a lot of our students come back from disciplinary hearings. And I don't think we've had maybe one student after they've re-entered, come back in front of us again. So that's like huge kudos to you guys over there and the work that you're doing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I also appreciate that John and Amanda never settle as well. And we're constantly focused on redesigning things together too.
Member Eames, just for clarity, you need new floors. What else? I mean, I wasn't really clear. The answer to Megan Hurd's question wasn't clear to me.
Yeah, I think the floors are in there. I think that's the main one. Yeah.
One of the things that Philip didn't mention, but it's still on our radar. We had an MOU with Tree Street to help pay for supports for staff in both spaces. And that is about half of that was tied up in Easter, and we just don't have it. So it's not something we added into the budget. So we're going to try to continue to look for grants and ways to make things work, but that's a hard one.
Thank you so much for your time.
So we have a special education department. I think Ms. Kraft's going to make a couple of comments, but I think we're going to spend more time on special education. We're going to take a chunk of time to really go through things because of the additions we've looking at for potential ads in other scenarios, but
I know. I'll be brief because I know everyone's waiting, but yeah, I'll just say a few things. So this is, I think, my third year in the position. Currently, right now, we have myself as the director, Michelle, who you approved last week, I think it was last week, to be the assistant director, and Anna Matthew, who has been here the whole time I've been here. Our staff, we have 312 total staff members in the special education department, which is a ton. That includes administrators, teachers, ed techs, service providers, administrative staff. There's a whole bunch of us in all of the buildings, including Next Step and Rooted. So K to 12, we have 1,098 students total. 73 active CDS students will be starting kindergarten. That means students that have been identified as needing special education services. We have met, well, not myself, I've met with one, but my other team members have met with many of the special purpose private schools for littles that are coming up, and we have some significant needs coming up to us. We have 51 additional children that are in the child find process. Many of these kids are going to need something more, whether it is a special purpose private school placement or something in-house that is not just the general ed setting with special education support. So I think that's important to point out because that's a lot higher than it was last year. So that will put a strain on our buildings, and we're trying to plan that out now. We have 190 students currently receiving services in-house in all of our buildings through our RISE program, our FLS program, and our day treatment program, as well as our self-contained classrooms that I have advocated and added since I started. And we are looking to expand that whenever we can. We had taken a lot of the ed tech positions in the last 2 years and converted them to be able to do that, reallocated the funds. We have 133 outplaced kids on top of that. That is comparable. Some of them are more significant than the ones that we're holding in-house. Some of them are not. We have 27 students that's already been determined on the IEP or by the IEP team that they need something more. So they are waiting for a spot in those placements. So if it opens up tomorrow, they're going. So that's an additional child to add to that. Plus 34 kids that are on the radar that we know are going to probably need something else, but we're trying to keep them as long as possible in-house. That number is up a lot from last year. Last year we were at like 108 at this time, and I was proud of that. But we've just had a lot of transfers in this year, a lot of referrals, a lot of just needy kids coming to the school district and not having the space, where I feel like we do have the programming in-house, but not necessarily the staff or the space. We, what else was I going to say? I'll think of it later, but K to 12, we have 315 students that are being served on 504s as well. And can go. Next one. Yeah, we have 312 504s. Oh, I should say that, sorry. It's a plan that's basically, it's not as complex as the special education IEP would be. It is something that is created in order to end the barrier between, so the student, whatever it may be, they might have ADHD, they might have a handicapping condition, whatever it may be, to stop the barrier of accessing their education. So you get accommodations, and there are things that the students will do, the parents will do, the school will do to make it so that that student can access their education. And when that is not enough, that's when we go to the IEP. So the IEP is more extensive. Good. All right, so highlights. I would say overall our hiring has improved in most spots. There are some places that haven't. Day treatment's tough because the kids it's just more challenging because staff get hurt more easily. But overall, I feel that we are doing a much better job with that, thanks to the raises that we've gotten for our paraprofessionals and for our teachers over the years. Total, we have 151 TCI. So TCI is therapeutic crisis intervention for those of you that are new. And that is, just de-escalation strategies, ways to create an environment where students feel safe so they don't escalate and, blow up the classroom, basically. And so when I first started in 2022, we had paid 10 people to go and to train the trainers so that they could train in-house. So we're constantly holding those trainings. So when we hire new staff or can have other staff that are interested trained in the summertime, we have those trainers train it rather than sending them out to be trained. So we used some funds through Easter to be able to do that. 2022, we had 55 staff members trained. Last year at this time, 101. Right now, we currently have 151, and 20 additional staff members will be trained in April. And we're looking at next year at putting the in our PD schedule that all schools will be learning basic levels of TCI to improve the behavior overall. Our co-teaching implementation has expanded throughout the district so that we can have students receive their services in the least restrictive environment. This goes with, we partner with regular ed teachers and also ELL teachers to do this. It's continued at Geiger. McMahon, we added Montello this year. LMS is doing it in LHS, and next year we'll be looking to add that at Farwell. And we have training that we offer through the district level office to train staff to do that. Our assessment data is improving for special education students. I mean, it's slow, but I feel like it is overall improving. We've been analyzing our data for our program through iReady, and the kids from their assessments that they take at the beginning of the year till now, we've put funds towards having trainers come into the house and in-house and train our teachers on how to use the program and everything that it has to offer. And the students are doing better. And so that makes me really happy as the director for those that are using it consistently. So that would be the hope, is that that would continue. And I have personally continuously been looking to reallocate funds in order to add in-house programming, knowing that our outplacements are so costly. And that it's the least restrictive environment for our students, and it's best for them so they can have access to their regular education peers. And, sports, whether it be a unified basketball or even just to play regular sports. It is way more cost efficient. So that's basically all I have for now. And then Monday we can go into some more weeds, but yes.
For those of us that are relatively new, could you describe what RISE, FLS, day treatment, and self-containment?
Sure.
What's different about them, and who do they serve?
Okay, so there's combinations because we have unique profiles for all kids, but primarily RISE would be our ABA students, so students with autism or like autism diagnoses. FLS would be our functional life skill students who are intellectually disabled and require daily life skills. They learn, prepare for the future, whatever that may be. And they'll, they cook and they go out into the community. And sometimes their profiles also match the RISE profiles of ABI. And so we partner together. Day treatment, I'll talk about self-contained first. Self-contained would be like a light day treatment, sort of like the bridge where the student's really struggling. They have a behavior plan. It's not working out. So we try to do self-contained, which is a behavior program, but not full on like a day treatment program. So they're still being served in-house, but in a smaller classroom. They are having access to a clinician and trying to work on de-escalation behavior strategies in order to make it back to the regular ed setting, because that's always the goal. And then if that doesn't do well or go well, and the data supports a more restrictive environment, we look at day treatment, which is classrooms that have a teacher, BHPs, and a clinician tied to them and work on, it's primarily for emotional disturbed students or ADHD. There's some combinations. Sometimes the profiles will have autism. It can vary. So we're trying to work together as a department with our lead BCBA and our day treatment administrator and myself and the assistants to how can we work better together and be more fluid so we can serve more kids and take the strain off of the schools and be more transitional in where we place kids to serve more kids here.
And think of a BHP as a behavior health professional, which is essentially an ed tech, but they have different specialized training around de-escalation and working with students that have higher needs.
Thank you.
Did you need any clarification on any of that though? That how I explained it?
No, that's good. I took notes. 'Cause I'm hearing these terms, but I'm not sure what they are.
I'm sure we'll talk about it more too on the day. So yes. Nobody else? I'm good. I don't get the question.
Okay.
I just figured you'd tell me if you really want it. Well, I hear a lot, we see you a lot, and Jake kind of is like,
yeah.
this is what we need. So I think we probably have kind of a good idea, but if there's anything you want to share.
No, I was thinking about it and I just wanted you to be mindful, I guess, of like I gave back a lot of positions and I've tried to reallocate positions to create more programming in-house. And I recognize that the ask is huge. A lot of times I don't have a choice because I have to provide it legally, but I just would like you to be open-minded on some of the ideas that we're exploring to program better in-house and try to save on costs, but it's going to be odd because we still have kids that we have to pay outside of district. So just be open-minded.
So I think we're all I think as a committee, I think we collectively are on board, more staff so we can keep people in-house, as much space as we can acquire to house these types of programs. So I think we are all on the same page that we know that that's our end goal. Because the amount that we are paying for outplacement is very, very, very large.
Yes. Yes.
Member Glant.
Yes, could you describe a student that would need outplacement?
It depends on the disability and what the factor is and why they can't stay in the public school. It could be, like we don't have the services to, a student that we don't have that level of support to give them. And it might not be just because we don't have the programming that's right for them, but we might not have the staff at that time. But it varies on what kind of program you're looking at, whether it's day treatment, FLS. There's different outplacement schools that service kids. And so it depends on the profile of the kid, where they go and at what threshold do they get there. I know that probably doesn't answer your question, but it's really like a puzzle because it depends on the numbers and the programs that we have in-house, if we can keep them or not keep them. And if we can fulfill the IEP, because that's always the goal, is that we want to keep them here and try to do that, but sometimes we just can't.
Just one example of level of need could be a student who is entirely nonverbal, who struggles to communicate. And when they struggle to communicate, they become violent. And there's a lot of de-escalation strategies and supports for students who have to learn to communicate at various ages. That's just one example of a maybe. Another example, we've had a meeting recently with a student who, when that student is triggered, we do everything we can to de-escalate, up to including, additional support staff, modified behavior plans. And one incident recently resulted in 3 staff being hurt, 2 needing to be seen by medical professionals. And so we look to find ways to provide education for a student like that. But it doesn't feel like that setting is going to work. And so we have to do more assessments, and there's a whole series of steps. But the least restrictive piece is very heavy in the law for what we are providing. Kirsten does have a member of her team that all she does is work with students who are outplaced with the ultimate goal of getting them back here as soon as we can. So those transitions help with the tuition costs, what have you. But she has 130 plus students on her list of students that are outplaced, plus 60 waiting or 50 waiting.
Yeah,
those
there
are all
is,
part of that
what was it, 34 that have been determined that they're waiting, and then, or no, 27, but 34 that are on the radar. So basically, yeah, about 50-ish. So, and she has more meetings than the typical people do because they have to have more meetings when they have chapter 33s. There's just all kinds of stuff, complicated. But while they're waiting for those placements too, we have to service them somehow in-house and make sure that they're getting their IEP needs met and their services, whether it's counseling or whatever.
Chapter 33 is just a reference for documentation of when there's an instance of isolation, physical restraint. If you have to put hands on a kid to make them stop hurting potentially themselves or others, or serious destruction of property, there's a whole form that goes with that, and then follow-up meetings to make sure the program has effective supports in place. So when we reference chapter 33, it's the documentation process of that. It's a very heavy process.
Thank you for the information. It appears that there's a heavy medical side to this as well. Medication management, is that part, is that being supported like by main care or anything like that, it sounds like a lot of it is medical, issues.
So potentially, but we can't say you can't come to school if you don't take your prescriptions on a regular basis, or if you haven't seen your pediatrician or things of that nature. So we've had some students have found success through medication. We have some students who have found success through coming off of medication. So it's really quite a puzzle, but we don't get to make determinations around prescriptions or medicines or other health factors that might not be prescription related that could be impacting the student's life. Sometimes we really want to. It's an extreme case. I think the last committee remembers we had a student we were working with that was somewhere in the 8 to 10-year-old range, and according to mom, had never seen a pediatrician. So that's an extreme case, but it's heartbreaking when we hear things like that.
I will add that our nurses do, we work in tandem with them to provide medication and all that. They have feeding tubes, we do have students on feeding tubes. Okay, I'm good. Okay.
Thank you. Next up, we have multilingual.
Hello. So I'm Liza McLemore. I'm the director of the multilingual program. I also have 2 assistant directors, Christina Tideswell and Heather Garcia. We are a branch of the superintendent's office, but we're located in our own building on the Longley campus that we call the Multilingual Center, which I'll talk about when I get to my bright spots. As of this morning, we're at 1,684 identified multilingual learner students in Lewiston Public Schools. They're spread across all of our schools, including outplaced locations within the special education department. That does not include former multilingual learners, students who have exited our program, which there are several hundred of those as well. We have around 75 staff total district-wide. That includes 57 teachers, 6 building-based language facilitators, 3 officially filled language facilitator and community specialists, 2 of which you recently approved. We have support staff at our office as well as the 3 of us administrators. There are 36 languages other than English represented across Lewiston Public Schools. Again, that number changes regularly, but our top languages include Somali, Portuguese, French, Swahili, Arabic, and Kinyarwanda. Spanish is a growing language, as well as Lingala. Some of the highlights that we've seen, we just wrapped up access testing, which is the annual required language proficiency assessment that all multilingual learners take. We had a rate around 92% completion rate, which is pretty incredible and a testament to our staff who work really hard and motivate students to participate and do their best. Last year, we had 79 students exit our program, and so we're really hopeful to have another successful year, and we'll have those results in May that we'll be able to share with you. Our multilingual center is becoming a very popular spot in Lewiston. Like I said, we're located on the Longley campus. We're in one of the modular buildings. Families are coming in and out all day long. They're coming for support. They're coming to be welcomed. We help them with registration and anything else. We're the place that multilingual families go when they don't know where to go or how to go there. So often they come into our office, we welcome them, and we figure out what they need and connect them with resources at the schools. And it's becoming a really popular place. And we're seeing students pop in, we're seeing parents pop in, and I would invite you to pop in if you ever have time. It's a pretty incredible place. Like the principals have reported, our population has grown tremendously this year. This number actually has changed since we put the slide together. We had 480 new students as of the start of the school year. That includes new pre-K and kindergarten students. I believe we're over 490 as of this afternoon. And so that's something that we're excited about, but also not something that we were expecting to this degree. That said, another highlight is our staff. We had a right around 96% position filling rate as of today, which is huge for us. We have really struggled to attract and retain our staff, and it's been a huge commitment of ours. And so we're really excited to share that with you all. We also have some nominations coming in for some of the remaining vacant positions. So that's a really big highlight for us. Like special education, we've expanded co-teaching as a service delivery model across 6 schools. It is something that we have been really thoughtful and intentional about starting. We started small and really provided a lot of support so that it could be successful. This is a way to increase equity and inclusion and allow students to receive their legally required services in a gen ed setting with their English-speaking peers. We've also continued partnerships through Catholic Charities with our Refugee School Impact Grant and the Lewiston Adult Ed to increase parent engagement, family engagement. We've been holding RSIG open houses. RSIG is the Refugee School Impact Grant. We've held those. We had one at the middle school last week, which had a wonderful turnout for some of our newly enrolled students who are refugees, and their families came in. They got tours of the building, learned a little bit about the American school system and how to be successful in our school system, but also allowed us to learn a little bit more about them. And we have more planned as well at the high school, and hopefully we'll be able to expand that to other schools as well. We also had a access informational session for parents and families
of multilingual learners. There's a picture there. It was one of the largest, if not the largest, family event we've ever held. The Longley cafeteria was completely filled, and it was a pretty incredible event. We had several languages represented, lots of interpreters present, and parents really asking fantastic questions and wanting to know ways that they could really help support and prepare their students. We continue our partnership with the University of Maine Farmington by offering courses for teachers who are seeking their ESOL certification to teach multilingual learners. Every semester, there's one course offered, and we regularly have the majority of the classes filled with Lewiston Public School staff. We're also promoting the Seal of Biliteracy. For those of you who were here last year, we had 7 students who earned their Seal of Biliteracy. And this year, over 30 students were interested, many of which have already tested. We don't have the results back yet, but we're hopeful that we'll have a large number there as well. And we continue to implement our ELD, our English Language Development curricula district-wide, and we're becoming a model, which seems so uncomfortable for me to say, given all that we've gone through over the past few years. But we have districts across the nation reaching out to us, wanting to meet with us, wanting to learn more about our programming. There was somebody from the Maine DOE at our office earlier this week wanting to just see our welcome center and learn about what we're doing. And so it's been really special to see how we've grown through a lot of the adversity that we've seen through the Department of Justice agreement and everything that Lewiston's experienced. But we are very proud to show what we're doing and share when we can with others so that they can learn from us. And also we can learn from them because we know we still have a ways to go.
Member Hurd.
Thank you. So I can ask you if there's anything you need. I mean, you did come to and present to us and you did ask for a few positions. So I didn't know if there was anything outside of that that you're still looking for.
So we're in pretty good shape. I will say, given the nature of our families and how quickly you can see the enrollment change, that is the only thing that's on my radar. We're in good shape right now, but should we experience another year of 500 plus new students, it will definitely be a challenge. And with that, adding new staff, there's challenges with space. Some of our ML teachers share classrooms, which is normal, but not ideal, especially with growing numbers. But space is limited, so we do what we can with what we have.
Member Eames. I'd just like to understand a little better about your invitation to us to come visit. When you say pop in anytime, is there a window that would make more sense? I mean, that seems like a very open.
Sure. So our office is open to the public from 8 o'clock to 4:30 every day that school is open. As well as the summer and school vacations. We're not all there. Somebody is there all the time, but we're not all there all the time. I know for myself and Heather and Christina, we're in schools for the majority of the time, but somebody's always there and will greet you and they'd be happy to have you. We'd be happy to have you at any time.
Is there an optimal time?
It changes every day, so.
Elizabeth's going to stop it tomorrow at 9. Thank you, Liza.
Thank you.
So the tech center will be here next week. And I noticed that Jen was here. Yes, okay. So Jen is here, but she was going to go next week. We do have IT Director Mark Rock here. So Mark may have other time at another meeting, but I'll let him share whatever he would like in the moment.
Hey, there you go. Thank you. So I'm really pleased to be here with you tonight. And thank you for your previous support and other programs that I've been up in front of you for. This year's budget focuses on 3 key areas. New teacher devices. So we have a number of teacher devices, a significant number that are coming out of warranty. But we also have a technology change. We would like to change from Microsoft-based devices for our elementary teachers to Mac-based devices. And there are a number of reasons for that, two of which are the training opportunities for teachers with Mac devices, get them credit hours for their training. And there really isn't a similar program on the Microsoft platform for that. And the other piece is the management of the devices themselves. They're central management services that we use to manage Apple devices that are easier. We also take advantage of E-rate, which is a state program that reimburses us for telecommunications equipment to upgrade our network. They'll reimburse us 85%. And we actually put together a list of equipment that's about $500,000. And we'll only have to pay 85% of that. And new student devices will be working through ESSER funding, but also through local Article 1 funding to work with iPads. We have a pilot program that's begun to see if the high school students might be better served with iPads instead of Chromebooks. Matt Rulo is working with a couple of teachers to have about 50 or so students try iPads over the next few weeks. We've done some of this through really taking a close look at the software line items that we have and refining it so that we were able to recover some money to put into teacher devices. And we also, throughout this last year, completed a budget neutral reorganization, which takes us to our next slide, Jake. A little hard to see. I guess the font's pretty small. It's color coded, and it's color coded specifically to show you the path of promotion that we've been able to give to our people within. So we have a tremendous team here at Lewiston Public Schools, and we were able to, you see there in purple, Lucas, we promoted him to Assistant Director of Server and Network Infrastructure. After his promotion, we were able to promote Christine to his vacated role of Network Administrator. And after that, we were able to hire Lynn Hazelton to take her place as a Tier 1 technician for the high school. We promoted Matt Rulo to Director of Help Desk Services, and we were able to hire into his position at Lewiston Middle School, the Tier 1 tech. And finally, in green there, we were able to promote John to Cybersecurity Manager, and that's been a really important role for us. And after his promotion, we were able to promote Devin Giroux to Tier 2 Technician. We were able to do all of that because we took 2 of our Tier 1 technicians and didn't fill them. So in this year's budget, if we don't fill those technicians, we're only about 7% up or so. And that is accounted for in some of the insurance increases and that sort of thing. So remember her to answer your question on this slide, those 2 open positions, really important. So for the last 6 months, 8 months or so, Devin has been pulling double duty as both a Tier 2 technician and still taking care of Montello and Connors elementary schools. And you can see from the growth in programs at Next Step and at adult education and in multilingual that we need more technicians to help in that high school sort of space. We really only have 1 technician right now at the high school. We're hiring a position that recently became vacant, but we definitely need a 3rd technician at the high school level. And that's the whole presentation. So do you have questions for me? Super easy. Thank you.
And on that note, but I think
all the questions for you.
yeah, I do want to. I know they're headed. They've had long days, but this is an amazing team of people that were just up here presenting just bits and pieces of the work that they do. So, Tiffany, can you tell them all I said thank you?
Is everyone okay if we take a brief break? Okay, thank you.
You just did.
No, that was just schools. Yeah, for those ones. If you want it, I can download it.
Getting stuff at the meetings is always hard. Like to have it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
To look at it. So we did that.
Oh, I haven't. Today was.
No, I did it 2 days ago.
Yeah, realize that there, but I anticipated that at some point we have to roll up to there, but you're right. Yeah, well, it coincided well with. Rolling in and. Vaccine.
School committee is back in public session at 7:40 PM. And we will continue with the budget overview.
So I have some slides tonight that are going to talk about more of the cost drivers, overview components. We'll do this for each of the areas of each of the articles, and that will help us, I think, build that frame of getting into the detail when we start to bring back potential cost savings or reductions in the budget. And so for you to be thinking about the frame of what administrators shared, what you know the level of need is, what things land in which articles, but then also what are the cost drivers connected to those as part of your review work. So without further ado, I will share. So does it says it's not. I don't understand. My audio okay now? I think it automatically shifts it, and then when I hit the button, it acts like it's not there. So Article 1 is regular instruction, and that one's pretty straightforward, so we don't have to dive in a lot of language, but again, that's regular ed. It's everything that the other things are not. So it's not special ed, it's not transportation, those things. So I just included that. This is information in your binder in one of the tabs of what each article represents. And so in Article 1, these are more of those cost drivers. You have contractual increases and insurance costs. You're going to see this repeatedly. So these are just people getting their steps, collective bargaining agreement negotiations that are in place that have cost to them. That insurance factor that we've budgeted for, that we won't know that number. Again, the cap is shared later in March, and then we get an actual number, usually early April, and that will help define what that is, but we have to budget for it. You'll also see in regular instruction some areas of big growth, and multilingual was talked about a lot tonight, but this is connected to our prior conversations where you've approved positions because the subsidy is there to support that additional cost. So when you look at the budget, you could see big growth, but please remember that a lot of that big growth in Article 1 is connected to positions that folks tonight mentioned, but also all of our multilingual components land for teachers and those kinds of things. They land in Article 1. And so the expenses are up, but the subsidy is up to support it also. Some of the ads that we want to share, interventionist at Geiger, which was mentioned. Connor staff mentioned that third grade teacher, I put 3-4 because we talked about trying to find someone versatile enough to loop with those kids. Potentially the dean and the music teacher at the middle school, true reading recovery or interventions at Farwell. We put in, this was kind of my discretion, not necessarily that Principal Radke asked for it, but 2, I put enrollment response teachers at LHS. These are nondescript teachers. My thinking was when we saw this enrollment boost last fall, we didn't have a great plan for how to address that other than making it up as we go. And the community is very supportive, but in a more lean budget, which I'm anticipating this to be, we don't have much leeway, or we get less and less leeway. So one idea, and I don't know if it'll make the budget process, but just as part of our thinking ahead, 2 essentially unassigned teachers for our district, that if we have a massive influx, we could at least have something in the budget and we would bring it back to you and say, this is what we're looking to do with that because we had an influx. There's also massive increases in the tune of $900,000 and change for increasing substitutes. We doubled that line. Potentially we could scale that back. I still worry about the level of need for that and the Easter funds drying up in the fall. So Article 4 is about other instruction, and it says activities that add to the educational experience of students but are not related to educational activities. That makes sense. So again, you'll see contractual increases in insurance costs. This budget overall is up 0.8, so less than 1%. So yes, there are some incurred costs, but this is an area where things have been pretty lean. And another good area of work that's been happening here, whether it's through negotiations and or the budget detail work that Adam and his team and Bill have really been working on, amongst others, it's really helping us identify some things that have we paid for this in the last 3 years? And if we haven't, do we still need it? And if we do, why, where did it come from? And was it paid out of somewhere else? So again, getting accurate with the detail has led to some cost savings initially. And then as stipends are worked on through the negotiations process, we may see a shift there, but I felt pretty good about Article 4 numbers. Article 5 is a bit bigger. That's services provided such as guidance, health, school resource officers, school health coordinator type positions, professional development, instructional technology, and student assessments. So you'll start to see how in the budget anyway, some things were moved because we went to a cost breakdown of like more per pupil instead of saying, if we pay X amount of dollars for, say, a technology item or software, instead of saying, well, we're going to charge arbitrarily this much to Farwell and this much to Connors, we're looking at a per pupil breakdown. So we have a good idea of how much that thing costs per kid. And so you'll see spots in your line items where you see negative 12% and then a 0 and then a plus 12% or 13%. Those, if you look at the titles of them, you'll see how they are very similar. But the shift is when we change to the per pupil calculation, you can't put it in the same spot. It's a coding piece, I believe, but so we can point some of those out when we go through, more line by line, but that's how that lands. So if you're seeing those anomalies of minus 12, then a 0, and then a plus 13, it went up 1%, but it's probably the same thing that we moved using a different calculation to be more accurate. There's also an item in there that is new, the family engagement staff at Montello. We sometimes mention Natasha and the efforts and the good things, good work that's happening there. That's that position. That's a new ask that was in ESER. Also, we had included in this budget 2 additional school resource officers. Again, I don't know if those 2 items will make it in the budget cycle, but you'll see those increases in Article 5. Article 7 is articles concerned with the directing and managing of the operation of a particular school. So really school administration. So here you see an 8.2% increase overall, which is consistent with that percent increase with contracts, insurance costs. And there's an administrator, so we did not add any administration this year in our school buildings. But also as a reminder, we reduced at Connors last year. There were different support positions that are used that help administration, but they're not education teachers specifically. So it's a different model there, but we did reduce administration last year by 1. Connors is doing good work, but I know that they want to be fully staffed at some point here soon. Article 11, which is like this long-standing anomaly. The only thing that we've budgeted in it since the day I started in Lewiston Public Schools is crossing guards, which is invoiced to us by the city, who's very fair about the cost. It hasn't changed in many years, but there's something to do with the legal protections and rights and responsibilities that the schools cannot employ crossing guards. So the city takes care of it and they invoice us directly. That's the explanation I've gotten. But that stayed flat. Other areas that this could apply. So we have more like rural schools up north where food might be made at one site and distributed 40, 50 miles to multiple schools. So that's where this would land. Obviously, because of us being a city and being closer in proximity, these other Article 11 qualifying items don't really align to us. So that's why that lands there. So those were the items we're covering tonight. Monday, we have Article 6, 8, 9, and 10. And we'll start to talk more in depth about things like what are the asks of special education, what are the asks of, say, the technical center and things of that nature. As far as budget review goes, those are those big cost drivers. I think the hardest thing for us right now, all of us collectively, is when we look at the grand total number and knowing we have work to do. So much of this is not new, but contractual, health insurance, and some things from ESER. And again, I do think we've done a good job dwindling that number of 40 or so positions that we had down to a small handful, but there are some asks in there. We'll have to decide what we can do and what we cannot.
Any questions? Member Heard?
I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session.
Motion to enter into executive session to conduct student A disciplinary hearing, Title 20A 10019 and Title 14056B. Is that what you meant?
Yep, that.
Okay, yes. And seconded by Member Bowden. All in favor? It's unanimous. The school committee is in executive session at 7:51 PM.